They tried to give us a biscuit, half a biscuit or something like that, and to bribe us with this food just to we say some sentences from the Quran.
Let's talk about what you actually endured.
Okay.
Like, how much did you weigh when you got captured, and how much did you weigh when you got out?
On October 7, 23, I was more than 70 kilos. And the day I was released to the hospital on February 8, 25, I was 44 kilos.
It's almost half your body weight.
Yes.
And you're not like a huge guy.
I believe it another month or two in the same conditions, same starvation, I probably would die. That was for sure. It was obvious to everybody.
What were they feeding you?
It was a bowl of pasta, a bowl of rice, or 1.5 pita bread a day.
There's a point at which you're getting like whatever you're getting, very little, but you're getting it twice a day.
Yes.
But there's a point in which the captors the terrorists tell you something, and they take away your second meal.
Yes, they said it was on July 24. They arrived to our room and said, from now on, you're going to move from 2 meals. We're going to reduce it to 1 meal a day, because the Israeli doesn't understand, and the prisoners still are suffering in Israel. We've tried.
But there's
to
a
talk with
specific
them.
decision that
Yes.
Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir has decided to feed the Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons less.
Yes.
And so Hamas decides, okay, well, then we'll do the same.
Yes. Yeah, so we ate 1 meal a day since that day for 180 days, more than 6 months, and it was awful. We begged for food.
At one point, I don't want to say you faked it, but you literally plan an operation with your fellow hostages where you're going to cut yourself with a razor to be bleeding.
Yes.
And then they're going to take you into another room to take care of you, and then you're going to collapse to make them think that you're going to die and they need to feed you more. Is that right?
We start to, not feeling really good, very dizzy, and just I need to do something to change it, and it has to be something visual that will shock them. So I took this blade and cut myself in my eyebrow and let the blood to be on my face. Asked to go to the bathroom, pretend I'm fainting in this corridor in the tunnel, and it helped us for 1 week. They gave us a half pita bread a day more, and it was great for us because we could keep this half pita bread for the night. And it helped us not to wake up every half an hour from starving, from hunger.
Right.
And but
only for a week.
Only for a week. But again, it was a small victory. And it was another small victory in this, surviving period for 491 days. You keep taking as much as you can, to survive.
There was a time you describe in the book where something must have happened to one of the captors' families, perhaps.
Yes.
And he comes in and he just starts beating you and kicking you.
Yes.
He
broke my ribs.
He broke your ribs.
He broke my ribs. He was step on me. He was kicking me.
One of the young guys tries to shield you, but
Alon Oil tried to protect me and asked him to stop, and he stopped after like 40 seconds, 1 minute, I don't know, and I couldn't breathe properly for 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
And I couldn't stand on my own. I needed my fellow hostages' help to go to the bathroom.
You also describe in the book the plumbing in the bathroom, or the toilet, starts to not work, gets clogged, and now you've got raw sewage coming out. Everything stinks.
Of course.
And then you've got worms starting to grow all around you, and they're on your toothbrushes. And can you describe? Would you describe that? Because I don't think people understand the exactly what you were really going through. I mean, it's bad enough to be away from your family in a tunnel. You can barely breathe. Now your ribs are broken. You've been kicked, beaten. But now just the stench and the filth. You only had even a bucket of water once a month or so, every 6 weeks?
Every 6 weeks we had a shower with half a bucket of cold water. And the hygienic...
You said, I didn't know how filthy the human body could become.
Yes, it was awful. The hygienic conditions were awful. It was one of the risks in these tunnels that to our health.
Some of your fellow brothers in captivity, they start getting diarrhea
and fever and high fever and things like that, and it was a high risk, and we told them about that, that we can die from that. But
so let me ask you, I think what everybody's watching is asking at the heart of it, how did you survive? And I want to ask you to ask you really two questions. First, one of your, there's a group of hostages that come in just for a few days. And one of them, who's become very famous here in Israel also, I mean, they all are, but has almost like this maxim, this proverb. I want you to share that with everybody, because it's sort of the way you were living anyway, but he sort of crystallizes in a sentence. Let's start there. What was it that Hirsch said to you?
Hirsch just gave us words to our behavior, and it was amazing words. It was this sentence.
And he defined, in a sense, what your internal philosophy was, which was?
It was that if you have why, you can bear anyhow. And
if you have a why, if you know why you're trying to survive, then you can survive.
What is important? Why is it so important for us to stay alive? And we just we all talked about our families, and it's enough. It's enough to do anything you can to survive. You want to see them again.
Now, talk a little bit about Hirsch, because he and a group of Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, he had lost an arm because he'd been in the music festival in Nova and had been part of, one of his friends had been, the terrorists would throw in a grenade, the guy would catch it and throw it back, but in the end, they pulled it, held it, and then threw it at the end, killing that lead guy and then blowing off part of Hirsch's arm. Right? These guys are heroes.
Yes. Aner Shapira, Hirsch Goldberg friend, was amazing, but unfortunately they killed him, and then they start to kill anyone in this shelter, and only a few of them will survive. One of them is Hirsch, that one of the grenade blow his hand. It was amazing. And
they get that group. I think there was 3 of them that get moved into your tunnel for just a few days, and you guys get to talk, and you're trying to understand each other's stories.
Except of Hirsch, it was 3 of them. It was Alon Noel, Eliako, and Or Levi, and they were very, very surprised to see after 52 days Hirsch was alive in these tunnels, and they start to cry, and they thanked him that that him and his friend, helped them to survive. And they all talked about when they're going to release, go to this Aner Shapira's family to say thank you for that her son saved them.
And they get moved out of your tunnel, and you think, okay, well, he's wounded. These guys are okay, so they're going to be released in the next round. And you're already assuming for months. They're home, they're safe.
14 months we believe they're home and safe.
When did you learn that they actually were murdered in another tunnel?
4 days before my release, we met Ohad Ben-Ami, that he used to watch television for once a week. And he told us, to me and Or, that we didn't watch anything. So he told us about
he was in a tunnel where some terrorists were watching TV, and he could...
No, they let him once a week to watch.
Oh, they let him actually watch.
To watch the news.
Okay,
so he knew everything about the war. He knew about the Hamas leadership that's been killed by the Israeli IDF.
Oh, that's right. And he starts sort of updating you on
updating us about Hezbollah, about Nasrallah, and
Sinwar had been murdered or
about
assassinated.
Everything. And then we told him about that our friend's been released 14 months ago, and he just took a big breath and just needed to let us know that They didn't make it, and they were been murdered 10 months later in other tunnel with another 3 hostages, and we were in shock. We were in shock.
Yeah.
And a day after that, they let me know about my brother as well.
Yossi.
Yes, that was kidnapped as well on October 7 and been killed. And this commander from Hamas was very happy to announce me that.
And then it's just 2 days or 3 days later that then you find out your
yes,
whole
about
family.
my family. Yes, about me.
So going back to this statement by Hirsch, this idea, if you have a why, then you can survive any how.
Yes.
So I think certainly for Christians who are praying, I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions of Christians in the United States and all over the world just praying and praying and believing, okay, Lord, you can set the captives free. Isaiah 61, this is what you do. And just praying. We need a miracle. You don't describe yourself as a religious person, but you're a person who you're very traditional in your Jewish experience. You guys prayed in the tunnels.
I know all the blessing by heart, you know.
So how would you describe? I mean, do you believe in God? Were you praying for release?
I always believed in God.
People want to know what gave you the strength, and it might not be God. I mean, I've talked to other hostages that were released, and they're like, "We're strict atheists, and this hasn't changed for us."
That's fine. But for me, I always believed God. I haven't been religious in my life, and
you mean Orthodox religious? Or ultra-Orthodox?
But all 4 of us weren't religious, and this praying every day, and especially on Friday, and this say all these blessings on, kiddush on. Usually it's on wine, but it's we're blessed for water.
For water, yeah.
Yes. And we kept a quarter of pita bread just to pray off the food. Yeah. And, to say some prayers for my mother, my sisters, my wife. It was amazing for us. It gave us all a lot of strength. And, in captivity, in this, something like that, very extreme that's happening to you, you try to find any source that give you strength. And faith in God was one of them. And it was amazing for us. And, in 491 days, I probably seen the death at least 10 times. And every time, in every junction of that, I was alive in the end. Wow. And I believe that I have something like private protection somewhere. I don't know why.
Do you believe that God protected and rescued you, or is that a little too concrete for you?
I believe something protect me. I want to believe that, and it was amazing for me. That give me strength, and anything you can get strength from, that's great. Someone can get strength for just thinking about his family, about his friends, about his life, whatever. That's great. So it was one of the things, and it was amazing for us. Even in these 180 days that we were starving, day by day, waiting more than 24 hours to the next meal, they tried to bribe us when we went to the toilet in the night. They tried to give us a biscuit, half a biscuit or something like that, and to bribe us with this food, just to we say some sentences from the Quran. Oh, wow. And we said to them, well, we're not religious, and we didn't want to do that because we are Jewish, but we said to them, we're not religious, so please, we don't want to do that, and keep your food for yourself, no problem. Wow. And it was very, very tough to do that. Yeah. You just want to eat, you want to eat any crumb on the floor, no problem. Wow. But we needed to refuse, and it was another small victory for us, for the unity of us, and it was amazing.
We only have a few minutes. I've heard you on a series of interviews and podcasts, and people have said, are you angry? And you keep saying, I'm not angry at Hamas. I'm not angry at National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, that he, I'm not mad at the prime minister. Is that what you felt then? Do you feel different? And I'm not trying to I don't know but it was so shocking. Every single interviewer has said, how could you not be angry? Like, what's going on inside of you?
So my therapist said to me that probably I am angry. I'm trying not to deal with any negative emotions. Otherwise, I could not move on with my life. And I want to move on. I want to rebuild my life. As I said, I love life. And I don't feel I have any privilege to stay in bed and cry all day after my family and friends stopped their life and fighting for me, and fought for me for 500 days. That's amazing thing that you are so meaningful to other people, and you cannot stay in bed and be depressed all day.
You could.
I said probably, but I choose not to do that. I choose not to do that. I don't feel I'm honored in this behavior. My wife, my daughters, and my brother.
Right now, as war ends, we pray, and we think that's happening. Many Christians are asking, so what do we do now? How can we continue to bless Israel, especially as the nation begins to rebuild? Well, Scripture gives us the answer in Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless Israel. And today, that calling matters more than ever. After years of hardship, Israel is entering a season of renewal. Families are rebuilding, small businesses are reopening, and communities from the Galilee to the Negev are coming back to life. And that's where Artza comes in. Artza is a beautiful subscription box that brings the Holy Land straight into your home, filled with handmade foods, crafts, and treasures created by small family artisans all across Israel. Each item tells a story of faith, beauty, and restoration. By subscribing, you're not only receiving something meaningful, you're directly blessing the people of Israel and helping their communities thrive again. This Christmas, bless Israel in a tangible way. Visit artsabox.com and use my code RR15 for 15% off. Lynn and I love Artza, and I know you will too. Bless Israel, experience the land, be part of its renewal with Artza. Let's close on President Trump. You signed a copy of your book to him, but even before that, you were with him in the Oval Office. What did you say to him? What did he say to you? And I'm not trying to be political. This is your life. You're not a political person that I'm aware of, but
for me, just wanted to say that I'm grateful to him, to President Trump, and to Mr. Witkoff that secured my release. And it was amazing to understand what they've done for us and to release us. And it was amazing. And just want to say to them, thank you very much. And after this visit, that was very meaningful to everybody that was, participate that. He asked from his staff that in the UN to give me time in the Security Council to speak.
I watched your
and it was
speech.
Amazing 20 minutes there with very hostile people around for Israel, and to speak there for 20 minutes and to show the photos of my family and my brother and Alon Noel. It was very, very meaningful for me, and it was powerful, and just, they cannot argue with someone that's been there. They can argue with ambassadors and politicians, but not with me, because I've been there, I've seen everything, and I've been with them for 491 days. I was held by Hamas, very cruel organization, that doing nothing to help his family, his own population, and actually stealing from them their food and all this humanitarian aid. We've seen dozens of boxes coming in every week, every 2 weeks.
From UNRWA,
from UN.
And the terrorists are eating that food in front of you.
5 times a day. And they tell us how much their kids or people outside don't have food, but they eat 5 times a day, and we eat 1 time a day. And that was awful just to see how much they don't care about their own population. And
thank you for going to the UN and speaking to the UN Security Council.
It was very important.
For having the courage and Again, you could have said, I don't want public attention. You're not a public person. You were never famous before. Yes. You don't seem to want to be famous. But you seem to have, say in Hebrew, tachlit. You seem to have purpose. Yes. This is my mission. These are the cards that you got dealt. And you're playing them very effectively, doing what I don't think you seem to really want to do with respect. I mean, even here, you're like, hasn't everybody heard this story? And the truth is, no. You've told it many times. But it's a story that not everyone has heard, and I think it's very important.
I wasn't elected by anyone and not represent anyone.
Right.
But for me to join this battle of the Sharabi's family, first of all, to bring back my brother's body home, to bury him, and that his wife and daughters and my mother have a grave to cry on, and it was very, very important for us. And of course, to speak for the other hostages that can't speak for themselves when they are 50 meters underground in the tunnels, and to help to bring them back to their families. It was an amazing mission for me. And I didn't see that for me as a job or something that I can do. I was happily to do that. And I went to all prime ministers and
the British Prime Minister,
British Prime Minister, Parliament members. I met all of them in the UN. So I did all I could to help them, and I'm sure other people did as well. And since I was released, and I've seen how much the Israeli peoples and the Jewish around the world, and Christian as well around the world, that praying for the hostages and support the hostage families, it was very moving for me. It was warm my heart, and all this solidarity with the Israelis, it's amazing. So I thank each one I've seen them, just thank them personally. Thank you very much.
Eli, thank you. We're with you. We've been with you from the beginning, and it's important that you tell the story. Thank you for what you're doing. I pray God will give you the strength to keep going and to have wisdom. Right? At some point, your life is going to shift from being a survivor and a witness to a new life, trying to figure out, you briefly dated, you're trying to figure out what can your new life look like. I don't envy that, but we're praying that the Lord would really bless and guide you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Wow, what an honor to sit down and spend nearly an hour with a man who's been through this. And we followed his story as it unfolded, and I read the book cover to cover, but to actually spend time with him was amazing. He does not consider himself a hero. In other interviews, he said, no, I'm not a hero. Israeli soldiers are a hero. All the Israeli families that push for a deal. President Trump is a hero. Steve Witkoff, these are heroes. I'm not a hero. Well, respectfully, I don't agree with him. He is a hero. He did survive. He did encourage the younger guys that were hostages with him to stay focused and to keep fighting to live and to survive, and they did. Most of them did. And I just am so grateful for Eli. I'm so grateful for this book, and I want to encourage you, please pray that the Lord would show grace and mercy to Eli and his family, that the Lord would bring a physical healing to him as he continues to recover, emotional healing as he continues to recover, and spiritual healing, and that the Lord would draw Eli and his whole family and his friends to himself, the God of Israel. And please keep praying for this type of healing and encouragement and mercy on every Israeli hostage and their family, every Israeli soldier that has suffered and been traumatized by this war, and on the Palestinians as well.